Welcome to StartupHakk. I'm Spencer Thomason, and today we're going to take a nostalgic journey, but down into the fads of field of computer science, from days when web rings were the cornerstone of online networking to overhyped trends like XML-driven everything, and that our industry has seen its fair share of ups and downs and outright cringe-worthy ideas. So why do these fads emerge? What can we as modern developers learn from them? And most importantly, how can you spot the next big trends and avoid wasting time on huge flops? So today we're going to go through some of these stories and have some fun. I'm going to be pretty unscripted today. Normally I'm fairly scripted, but today I'm going to go pretty unscripted and dig into some of my thoughts as an industry veteran with my lessons from 25 years of experience. So whether you're a seasoned developer, reminiscing, or a new coder wondering what mistakes not to repeat, this episode is going to be packed with some humor, some history, some practical takeaways. Stick around because till the end of it, we're going to have some fun. But let's dive in today and have some fun with this that I wanted to dive into today. Welcome to StartupHakk. I'm Spencer Thomason. Here at StartupHakk, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software for companies. I do have a lot of work as a fractional CTO with over 25 years of software development and over a decade of it as an executive assistant. We love to train software and love to train software developers and build software for companies. All right, so there's this article here. I'm going to pull up onto the here. Found this on Reddit. Thought this was a super fun post. So what are some of the past fad fields of computer science that didn't age well? So this is going to be really fun. You know, this guy here has a computer science and he's just kind of wondering on what are some of the things that like didn't really age well in tech. Now, again, with 25 years, I've seen the rise and fall of a lot of things that didn't age well, right? And especially as you look at Microsoft and some of these. So I love that the very first one and one of the highest upvote is no code. And obviously this is a bunch of developers because no code is perennial. More money has been made failing to make this successful than it has been successful. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, you guys are going to be out of a job. Whether it was web, the first web, whether it was web 2.0, whether it's all these no code solutions that come through. And, you know, this guy calls out the Zapier or Power Automation are probably the closest thing. But the funny thing about it is I'm actually working on a huge contract right now, which is actually to replace a no code system plus Zapier that has been as tightly integrated as I've ever seen. I think there's over 100 different Zaps. And that one is one that I laugh at this because this is such a huge opportunity as a developer to dive in, because now we're going to build them a real system with some real code, right? We're building it on Postgres with .NET using Angular, and it's a large project and it's going to be a ton of fun, and we're having a great time with it, and the customer is really happy with where we're going with it. And so I really laugh at this no code one because I think the majority of the stuff that I do is to come in and replace systems that have been put in as a no code system that they thought they could do with no code. So that's a great one here, right? You know, and this one comes up, this guy says, hey, you know, no code or low code systems come up once or twice every decade. And it's totally true. Here's a great one. Using Java cross-platform UI frameworks, Java applets on the web. Do you remember those days where you'd go to a website and click on it and an applet would pop up and it has to download the applet? You'd have to have the local runtime. It was a total nightmare. And then this guy gets into the Micromedia Flash. Oh my gosh, the old Flash days. This is definitely reminiscent. Do you remember the old Flash plugins? And you have to work with IE, and then it stopped working because it was a total security nightmare. And then it, you know, leads into the Java applets and everything. So that was a really good fun trip down memory lane, right? And everyone's pretty much like just Java in general. And I agree with that. Code generation never really took off to the degree where people thought. Now, this is kind of interesting as we go into AI right now, because really, I think AI is just autocorrect on steroids. So when we talk about it, you can see I was using ChatGPT here, and ChatGPT is great for certain things. Like if I want to use it to generate some YouTube titles or the description of the body of my, you know, YouTube video, or some other things, or grammar checks on my stuff, I use it for that stuff all the time. But for actually like generating code, no way. I mean, there's some great tools for built into your code generation, built into Visual Studio and VS Code and stuff. But man, no way am I ever going to let it just write full systems, right? And so where it talks about code gen, because behind every code gen, there's XML, right? And that's, as a developer, one of the funny things that we always see. This guy, SOAP. That was like a decade of a miss by Microsoft, right? Believe it or not, I still have some old systems that actually still have SOAP XML web services. Oh my gosh, what an absolute nightmare SOAP was. The S for SOAP stands for simple. I don't remember what SOAP stands for. Simple. What did SOAP stand for? I can't even remember what SOAP stood for. SOAP was an acronym for Subject Object Assessment and Play. I don't think that's right. SOAP, let's call it for SOAP APIs. Yeah, I can't even remember what it stands for. Oh, Simple Object Access Protocol. That's right. Okay. See, it's been a decade since I've even touched it, because once REST came out, didn't even look back at SOAP. SOAP is terrible. What of the whole thing is great. Like, what are the greatest piece of internet tech writing ever, right? Like, such a disaster. It just was. I remember working with an old C++ dev on one API, and this would have been probably around 2006, 2007. And of course, I was using SOAP because I was using Microsoft and using .NET. And the guy was like, "What is this trash? Why can't you just pass some normal stuff?" And luckily now we have REST with some JSON standards, right? All right, just my perspective, but I first started getting into CS. I saw a lot of tech blogs posting about how much SQL sucks and that MongoDB and its equivalent of the future, and everyone needed to learn it to stay relevant, right? Now, that's not to say that NoSQL DBs had never had a use case, right? We've obviously all used them in various different use cases, but they certainly have not replaced SQL, right? Relational databases have still been here. And, this was part of the main attraction of NoSQL to a lot of people is it bypassed existing DBA power structures. So definitely, the whole NoSQL, right? And this thread kind of keeps going here on the NoSQL. I'm not going to get into the DCOM. Well, COM, right? COM and Cobra. I won't get into that a ton. This guy writes a novel on it for us here. Let's see what other ones they've got out here. Hang on here. I don't remember the name of some idiot. Okay. Let's see here what we've got on some of these. Web 3.0 was almost forgotten. It's an amazing tech desperately looking for a problem that simply didn't exist, and when it was abused for quite a few high-profile scams on top of it, right? So this is blockchain, Web 3.0, the fact that web was going to be built on top of blockchain. Absolutely not a use case for it. I'm actually a big blockchain fan. I think there's going to be some crazy technologies that'll come out of it. The web was not one of them. I was never, ever, ever on board with a Web 3.0 idea that would be run on blockchain. That just sounds like a total disaster. 4GLs and drag and drop visual coding tools, right? No drag and drop coding tool has ever taken on, just as an FYI, blockchain. This guy thinks everything blockchain. Gets listed out here. Aspect-oriented programming, to the best of my knowledge, has been reduced to a couple of logging libraries, right? That's probably true. Silverlight. Oh, that's a classic. For those who don't know Silverlight, we talked a little bit about the Flash plugin. Silverlight was basically Microsoft's version of Flash. That then it's kind of gone from Flash to Silverlight. And from Silverlight, we've kind of moved toward Blazor. I'm not really sure if there was anything between those. And now we've really moved to Blazor, right? Which, to still be able to use the same code, Silverlight required a plugin. It wasn't all that different. It was basically just Microsoft's version of Flash, which was just a disaster. To actually answer the question, XML. So I agree. For a while, XML was in all the books and it was talked about as the de facto way to structure things. Thank goodness we came along with JSON. JSON is way better than XML. Goodbye, XML. No need to get into that. So this guy, I'm going to start a flame war. I love that on Reddit. This is, that's going to be a great post. Test-driven development in its purest sense, right? I agree. I was in shops that really tried to enforce test-driven development. Oof, man, that's rough. I am not a fan of it. Extreme programming and pair programming in their pure sense. So I get this because there are some shops and something that was for a while there was really push for extreme programming where every line of code would be written by two people together. And so nobody could write a single thing. That being said, I am actually a big fan of pair programming. I tell my teams all the time, if you feel yourself start to spin your wheels, call another dev, no matter how senior, no matter how junior. If you're starting to spin your wheels, call another dev. There is no reason to stay stuck on something for a long time. So this guy asks, how's functional programming doing nowadays? I do know that I just did a live yesterday on C# and F#. I know there's some people that use it. I haven't found those people, and Microsoft keeps writing F# stuff, but I haven't actually found those people that are using F# in the .NET world, so I'm probably going to get flamed here. I'd love to get flamed. Throw in some comments here. Tell me what you do with F#. I've yet to find those people who use F#. So functional programming to me, I'll say it, design patterns. Like, it's still a real thing. You still frequently reference a known pattern when planning a project. But in the mid-2000s, there was a fad. Interviewers would ask questions like, what's your favorite design pattern, with no context for what kind of problem you're solving, right? It worked. I worked at a big company, had an architectural committee, and anytime you built any new service, you had to present it for architecture review, and there was a blank where you had to lead at least 4 design patterns. I remember this because this really came from the Gang of Four and a lot of those other design pattern books. I think this was a really, like, as funny as watching the software industry mature, this was a really important time to talk about design patterns where we were talking about the right way to do things. And I like this because it prevented us from just thrashing at just million line function calls and stuff like that. And so I get it. And yes, this really is where, some context of singletons and some other chain of responsibility and things came from. So again, I think there was a huge maturity to it, but yeah, it was totally overdone. And people got way into the design pattern and discussions around theories of it. Enterprise Java Beans, yeah, that was a definite. Hadoop, I remember, not a fad in the sense that it died out, but there was definitely a period where execs loved hyping up every project involving big data. See, the funny thing about this one, my comment to this one is everything big data is actually what's driven us now to AI. If the industry hadn't gone through the big data phase, we would never be where we're at now with AI, like what we call AI. I kind of hate that we call it AI because really I think AI is autocorrect on steroids, but it really was a stepping stone to better and faster projects. So these guys are totally right. I think it's a great call out. Here's another call out for test-driven development. I think that's a great one. AI, winter is coming again. Yeah, this guy, I'm actually with this guy here. He's a top 10 contributor, and I would definitely upvote this one because I don't know if I'm signed in or not. But like, I would definitely upvote this one because I think we're starting. I've made a couple of videos, so go back and check out my previous videos. And best thing you can do for me, guys, is like and subscribe or leave a comment. I love getting people who leave comments. But so anyways, I do think we're seeing a winter coming with AI. I think people are figuring out that AI is dumber than they thought it was. There is definite use cases, like I've said, but I think it's dumber than people are thinking. And I think we're seeing this on the Apple Intelligence that's been released lately. I think that's a huge part of what the Apple Intelligence is finding out right now. Might not be old enough, but I hated working with AWS Cloud Formations and YAML, right? I agree. That was a pain in the butt. I don't accept your premise. That's funny. Blockchain, 100%. This guy just thinks blockchain is a total waste. He might be right. I think time's going to tell. So I remember when Ada was a big thing. GraphQL, there is very little real world use, and saving fractions of milliseconds, not transporting extra data, isn't really much of an optimization. I agree with this, actually. I think the nightmare and security risk that GraphQL is absolutely not worth anything. It's a terrible nightmare. I would never run a production project with GraphQL. My own personal opinion. This guy, we've gone through some of these, Agile, debatable. I think you could replace that with Scrum, and I'd say yes. Agile, I'd say no, but this guy's gone through a bunch of the ones. So anyways, this was fun. Web rings. These were good. These were the good old days before the internet was so centralized and ad monetized, right? Flash websites. Yeah, so we've gone through a lot of these. Ultimately, here at StartupHakk, we love training software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as building custom software solutions for companies. If you think that I missed one of your favorite ones, please leave a comment, because I love having a great, healthy discussion. It's Saturday, so I thought I would just get on and have fun with this one today. So, but like and subscribe, and if we can help you out with connecting any of your systems, reach out to us at startuphakk.com/Spencer, and we'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.